Good afternoon. Nice to see you all here. Quite a big crowd today. Wow. I've seen a few of you this week. It's my great honor to have my good friend, Governor Christie from New Jersey here today, coming back to Maine for a second visit, helping us out in our campaign. And without further ado, I'll ask him to say a few words. And then if you have questions, we can try to answer.
Well, thanks, everybody. I'm glad for you all to be here today. I'm happy to be here with the governor. I want to thank Chris for inviting us here today and taking a tour of the kind of things that have happened, under Governor LePage's leadership. When you do things like, enact the largest tax cut in Maine history, you have people moving back to Maine. You have businesses here expanding and growing. This business is, quadrupled now in the last 4 years in terms of the number of employees here. That kind of growth doesn't happen without leadership at the top from the state, showing the right type of business atmosphere to have for the people in Maine to help create jobs. And that's what the governor has done here. So I'm thrilled to be back. I'm going to be back again between now and the election, for sure, at least once, probably more than once. The RGA, the Republican Governors Association, is completely committed to this race. We absolutely believe that Governor LePage has a record which merits re-election, and we believe that we're going to be able to contribute positively to the political circumstance to give him the best chance to be re-elected. So I consider him a personal friend, and not like in politics normally, when you call somebody your friend but they're not really your friend. This guy's really my friend. I like LePage a lot. We get along really well. I love what he's done up here in Maine. He sets a great example for people throughout New England, and I'm thrilled to be here to help him, and we're going to continue to help him as much as we possibly can over the course of the next 80 or so days before the election. So I thank Paul for letting me come on up, and if you have questions for either one of us, we're happy to take them.
How much money is the RJ willing to spend?
Well, listen, we're going to spend what we think we need to spend in order to win. But we're already up now with advertising, and we're going to continue to do that. So I would tell you this much: millions of dollars will be spent here by the RGA by the time we're done in support of Governor LePage's campaign. Exactly how many million? We'll see. Now, I do subscribe to the idea that I don't want to pay a dollar more than I have to for a win, but I'll pay every dollar I need to try to give him the best chance he can to win, and we're invested and ready to go.
The polls are showing incredibly tight race between Governor LePage and Congressman. Aside from spending money, what else needs to be done to sort of move the needle?
Listen, I just think the governor has to be out talking about his record. I think that, the fact is that the people of Maine know Paul LePage and they like him. And the fact is that, what happens oftentimes in politics is, you wind up getting distracted from talking about the things you really should be talking about. And I think what you're going to see the governor do between now and Election Day is to be talking about the way Maine was when he took it over nearly 4 years ago now, and what's happened in the meantime. I think if you focus on that and not the theoretical, because all the Congress can do is bring his Washington approach to governing here. I don't think people in Maine want the Washington, D.C. approach to governing. Agree or disagree with the things Governor LePage does, he gets things done. And I think if he emphasizes that to the people of Maine, which I know he's going to do between now and Election Day, I think that's the kind of thing that's going to take a close race, which we expected to be. It was 4 years ago. It'll be a close race again, but I think it's going to have the same result. I think you're going to see Paul LePage back for another 4 years in Maine.
Governor, both the Democrats are saying that both Maine and New Jersey have poor economies, poor recovery, and are blaming the two of you for that.
You want to start?
Wow. Yeah. When's the last time you saw the year end with $93 million in the bank? That has not happened for at least 20 plus years. We've created jobs. In the previous 8 years to my being governor, there was a net 56 jobs created in the state of Maine. We've got 20,000 jobs created. And this is what I'll tell the Democrats. Enough with the rhetoric. Let's get some action. You guys haven't done anything for 40 years.
And I just say about New Jersey, in the 10 years before I became governor, in the decade of the 2000s, New Jersey had zero net private sector job growth. Zero. In a decade. in a decade that was run almost predominantly by the Democrats in my state. And in the last 4.5 years, we've created 150,000 new private sector jobs. So, that's good stuff for a press release. But when you scratch a little bit below the surface, Democrats in my state ran it into the ground. Zero private sector job growth in 10 years. We've had 150,000 new private sector jobs in 4.5 years. So I'm pretty content with our record. We can always do better. And that's why I ran for re-election in 2013, to do better than the first 4 years. And I know that's why Governor LePage is running for re-election. We're not content with what we've done. We have more plans for our states, and that's why we want to continue to lead.
Governor Christie, any reaction to Rebel Casino in Atlantic City announcing that its closure today?
Yeah, listen, I don't think that's a done deal. We'll have to see. But the fact is, the casino business has become a very competitive business. And when Atlantic City was built up to the extent that it was monopoly east of the Mississippi. And so there's going to be a lot of reconfiguring that's going to go on in Atlantic City. And I'll have more to say about that tomorrow and the next day as we move forward. We've committed a lot to Atlantic City over time, and we're going to continue to work real hard to try to make Atlantic City the best it can possibly be. But, you have most of the states in the union now competing for casino dollars, and it's become a much different landscape than when Atlantic City became only the second place in America where you could have casino gaming back in 1977. So it's a much different landscape.
Governor, there's a new poll that shows nearly half of New Jersey voters believe they're making decisions with an eye on your presidential bid instead of.
Nearly half? That's pretty good, actually. My response to that is that people have been talking about me running for president since 2010. Okay, so that's just the life that I lead. But, if you look at the decision by decision that I've made, where I think the conclusion that most New Jerseyans come to, and since now nearly half, but not quite half, believe that I'm doing that, that means more still believe that I'm not. They see that I make the decisions I think are best for the state of New Jersey. And some people say those are good for presidential race in the future if I decide to do it, and some people say they were bad decisions. What they are my decisions. And I'm happy to stand by every decision I've made as governor. I haven't always been right, but I've always been honest. And so that's what people get to know about me as they get to know me over time. And, polls in New Jersey go all over the place. And so it's okay. With everybody, every place I go asking me if I'm running for president, I'm really surprised it's not over half at this point. But I'm sure it soon will be.
Governor Christie, what would you say is how are you most like Governor LePage and most unlike?
Well, listen, LePage and I both are very shy. Let's start off with that. We have a difficult time speaking our mind. We have a hard time kind of, letting people know when we disagree with them. I mean, the fact is that we're very much alike in the way we approach governance. And the ways that you'll see differences between us are really not so much differences between the governor and I, but there are differences between our states. We have different challenges, different populations that would lead us then to have to lead in somewhat different ways at times. But I will tell you that I think our approach to problem solving is very, very similar. We don't avoid the hard issues. We dig in. We tell people exactly what we think, regardless of what any poll may say, regardless of what may be particularly popular or unpopular at that moment. And I think we're much more similar than dissimilar. But the places where we're different, I think, are much more because we govern different states than it is any personality differences. I don't know. You.
I absolutely agree. I think Chris is absolutely correct. We are a little bit shy. He's probably a little bit more polished because he's been in the courtrooms a lot more than I have, being an attorney and all. But I will tell you this. There's one thing we do have in common. We care for the people that we govern. This is unlike some of my opponents who would rather go to the throw money at a problem and get to the cocktail party instead of rolling up their sleeves. And I think in that way, we are not afraid to roll our sleeves up.
Any other questions from anybody, or are we exhausted? How long have we known each other? I met Paul when he first started to run back in 2010. So we've known each other for 4 years now. After he was the nominee of his party 4 years ago, I got to know him and have known him well ever since. And our wives are friends, and it's.
What you see today as his qualities, is that what you saw 4 years ago?
I see it even more now. I mean, 4 years ago I had an impression. We all develop impressions from meeting people that are initial. the good thing about Paul, and I think this is what the people of Maine have gotten to see over the last 4 years, is their impression of him is who he is. He's not very complicated, and I think that's good. Problems are complicated, but people don't need to be. And the fact is that what you see is what you get with Paul LePage. And I think that's really refreshing in politics today. You never have to worry that Paul LePage is sitting and listening to some political consultant or a focus group or giving some answer that's been pre-canned and tested. He is who he is. And I like that about him. I liked that back 4 years ago. That was my impression of him. And now I've watched him govern, because campaigning is a lot easier than governing. A lot easier. You can say lots of different things in a campaign, and some of it gets tested out and some of it doesn't. Governing is really hard. You got to work with other folks. You got to try to make things happen. And I think the best way to get that done is to be honest and be upfront, and that's what he is. And I think that's what the people of Maine see about him, even those who disagree with him. I think admire his honesty, and that's what I admire about him the most, is his honesty. I never have to worry whether Paul's telling me the truth as he sees it.
All right, guys, thank you very much.
Thanks all. Thanks for coming today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.